The Dark Elves headline the latest release of SFO and bring with them brand new mechanics, an all new tech tree, and a heavily reworked voluntary worker system. Let's take a look and find out exactly how it all works. And if you want to take a look at these videos without any ads, then you should become a channel member. All of the same videos, with none of the ads, all for just $1 a month. Become a member at the join button below, and now let's get into the Dark Elves. As I said, there are changes to each individual lord and their effects and mechanics, but there's also been a large number of changes to the Dark Elves as a baseline. The most significant of these changes has to be to their tech tree, which varies from faction to faction, but no matter what, is now 2 separate pages. The Druchii page contains unit buffs separated into various groups, similar to the red skill line for lords. Each group has a starting tech, followed by 4 more that must be unlocked through the voluntary workers text to the left. These cost increasing amounts of workers and not only unlock the higher tiers of unit buffs, but also various army buffs, bonus building effects, and even an army ability, allowing you to sacrifice workers to fill up the murderous prowess bar. The rituals page is where you'll find each lord's unique tree, along with trees dedicated to each of the Dark Elf deities. I'll cover the unique lord trees with the individual faction changes, but each of the deities has text that fit to a specific theme. Atharte is all about campaign prowess with a sprinkle of sneakiness, Hecate is all about various magical bonuses, Cain is about making the most of battles along with buffing your lords and heroes, and Mathlan is all about the sea, buffing black arcs, ports, and armies battling at sea. You also have the domination section at the end, which allows you to spend workers for diplomacy bonuses with various factions, along with some extra cash and dictat income. It's not just laying everything out into 2 pages and therefore making the tree easier to read, it's also giving you a lot more options of where to start from and where to go from there. Previously, you start in the same place every time, so chances are you follow more or less the same path every single time. But here you can change priorities based on what's happening, like buffing certain units you just unlocked, or empowering your casters. It doesn't seem like a big deal, but when playing as them, it makes a big difference. Whilst the rights you have access to have remained much the same, the way they work has seen a slight tweak. When activated, they each trigger a dilemma where you can choose some bonus effects, however each one comes with an added cost or risk. It's a small change but give rights a lot more interactivity, since they can be pretty bland in the base game. The individual lords have also seen some changes, ranging from minor tweaks to whole new mechanics. First up we have Nagarond, led by Malekith. He has access to an all new mechanic called Glory to Malekith. This is a selection of temporary and permanent buffs you can unlock for the faction by spending a new resource called Witch King's Authority. You earn this by battling and by owning major settlements. These buffs range from various bonus effects for groups of units, to various campaign effects ranging from extra magic to diplomacy and everything in between. Lastly, you can also confederate all other Dark Elf factions and resurrect those that are already dead, so you can collect all lords under one banner. His area of the tech tree has a range of effects allowing him to better take on the High Elves and get around his mountainous starting location. As for his faction effects, his upkeep reduction sees a small decrease, but he does gain access to some unique units once he captures the Shrine of Azurion. These come in the form of a handful of High Elf units and a unique Blackguard variant. It also says the Manticore Lords are a part of this, but they're actually a landmark in Nagarond. Thank you Venris for the assist. Everyone say, thank you Venris. The Shadowfire Guard are a unit of Blackguard. They come with a ton of passive abilities, giving them enhanced stats at high health, buff for themselves and allies, and debuffs for enemies. The Manticore Lords are a Manticore unit. Obviously, there's a few more of them, but they also have more armor, charge bonus, attack, and leadership, making them devastating flying chargers. They can also use bound spells to drop poisonous bombs and sap enemy armor to weaken their targets before impact. Next up, the Cult of Pleasure, led by Mom Morathi. Morathi has a tweak to her Slaanesh corruption, with it now bringing various buffs to voluntary workers' income, allowing you to rake in the cash, devotees in your army, and more. Her area of the tech tree contains buffs for her Slaanesh units and sorceresses. She now also reduces the upkeep of heroes in her army and provides bonuses for the Ice Blades Regiment of Renown. Morathi also has access to a new unit, the Pleasure Cultists. They're slower but more damaging marauders of Slaanesh and make for an okay front line, but will need lots of help to take down targets and stay alive. Harganeth, led by Crone Helbron, has a small addition to her Death Knights mechanic in the form of Sacrificial Blood. Whenever you're at max level of Death Knights, you'll accumulate Sacrificial Blood, and the more you have, the higher this collection of effects will climb, bringing you various buffs with a couple of trade-offs. When at low levels, this resource is slowly drained away, so you're encouraged to remain at respected or above at all times to maintain your bonuses. Additionally, you can spend Sacrificial Blood to upgrade Harganeth units like Executioners, Sisters of Slaughter, and Witch Elves. Crone's area of the tech tree focuses on her niche of units, along with maximising voluntary worker collection and keeping armies healthy. Her extra casualties captured post-battle is gone and is replaced by a reduction of building worker consumption rate. Plus, she can now make use of the unique Helbronite Executioners. The Helbronite Executioners drop some attack and damage from the Harganeth Executioners, but gain some defense alongside overwhelming imbued attacks to reduce enemy damage. And lastly, she now boosts the income from workers in the local province. The Blessed Dread, led by Felheart, have only one real change, and that is his Black Arcs now gain traits that can empower the entire faction in various ways. His unique area of the research tree is quite varied with buffs to lords, heroes, armies, and various areas of the campaign, all going along with his port pirate playstyle. He doesn't have the worker income bonus anymore, but Black Arc buildings are cheaper, and he makes use of a few unique units with their capacity tied to your number of arcs. The Helldrake pack are a relatively fast moving monster unit with strong armor piercing damage, okay melee stats, and moderate charge. They'll work great as flanking monsters to make the most of that charge bonus and keep them safe with their mid defenses. The Sea Dragons have more HP and defense than the Black Dragon, but less speed and leadership. Otherwise, it's just another dragon, great at all those dragon related jobs, like eating infantry and using breath abilities for added damage. The Creeping Dread are Black Arc Corsair crossbows, and they have worse melee defense but more attack and plenty of armor piercing damage, both in melee and now from a range. Plus, they enhance their own leadership and damage whilst at high leadership, whilst also sapping the attack and leadership of enemy targets. Black Arc Reavers are most similar to K-Knight Assassins. On the campaign map they act like assassins, and in battle they are strong frontlines warriors. They have great melee stats, armor and armor piercing damage, so can take on most threats without too much trouble. Add on their abilities to pin and weaken enemies, and you have a unit that can take out almost any lord and hero with relative ease. You can also swap between a few loadouts. Great Swords drops their defense to gain more weapon strength, Sword and Handbow drops some melee stats to gain some medium range damage with some very tasty armor piercing, best used versus single targets. No matter what, it's lords, heroes, and other single entities all the way. He also now provides missile resist for his army. Hag Grief is led by Malus Darkblade. His area of the tech tree is all about attacking and empowering the cavalry of the roster. His industry and residence buildings now also provide some control. And lastly, the Thousand Maws led by Rakarth. His area of the tech tree of course has some buffs for his monsters, along with allowing him to attack and expand at a relentless pace. His faction now gains some missile resist during offensive sieges. For his army, all local enemy beasts and monsters are now slowed. Now to wrap up with a review of SFO for the Dark Elves. As is tradition with SFO, but nevertheless something that always impresses me, the faction still feels distinctly the Dark Elves. There may be all these changes to the base mechanics and even the individual lords themselves, but everyone still has that same feel to them that makes their campaign unique. It's just like the flavour of each campaign has been turned up ever so slightly to make them into a succulent drooky meal, rather than just the faction that Reworks forgot. As usual, the tech tree is just a perfect change and one that I wish was in the base game. You may not think about tech trees all that much, but having one laid out nicely with a bunch of good choices from turn 1 is a big deal, and SFO always delivers on this. The unique lines per lord are also a great change, giving each lord a little more to set them apart and lean into their gimmick. Speaking of which, the changes to the individual lords are also excellent. It's mostly smaller things, but where there's room, the whole new mechanics or mini mechanics like Malekith's Glory or Crone's Blood fit so well with the faction that it's a shame to play without them. I also like how almost all of these campaigns come with some unique units. It's a small thing but gives you a reason to check out each one and play around with the new units to see how you can fit them into the Dark Elf roster. Overall, it's another SFO slam dunk, which feels almost redundant to say at this point, as they almost never miss. The Dark Elves in base game are probably in one of the worst spots they've ever been, so I can't see any reason to play them without this. It really does keep their core identity, but turns everything up, and in doing so, makes everything better. But what I want to know is which Dark Elf Lord is your favourite? Perhaps you're a Marathi enjoyer, in which case, I know what you are. Or maybe you're all about Rakarth and his Mr. Beast pens. Let me know in the comments below. Like the video if you did, subscribe for more, and if you want more Warhammer 3 mod videos, then check out this one all about the Empire roster overhaul that adds full-blown mechs to everyone's favourite faction.